Let's go for the actual score. Europa Natural Law.
Greetings, humanity, and welcome to Europa Natural Law. This is a roundtable transmission dedicated to healing the madness, badness, and sadness that plagues our beautiful, bountiful world. Through regaining our sanity, reclaiming our inborn sovereignty, and honoring our inherent responsibility, we can improve reality. I'm Nemo Jones, reporting for Beauty from Devonshire, Albion, where I write, speak, and sing for freedom, reason, and beauty. You can find all my links on the World Wide Web at nemojones.com. And we're back to talk about Agape. It's spring, love is in the air, and here we are. I thought there was a bit more to it than we got to last week, so I thought let's go for another one on this subject. So before we get into that, let's go round and introduce everyone. So Jared, would you like to say hello?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining Neems and Derek and Corrine and starts with a P, Palm. Sorry. I'm Jared from Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm here to answer to my own conscience, to make sure that I at least put out there and represent what Agape is in connection with natural law. Next.
Great.
Cool, yeah.
Derek?
Derek Barlocelli out here in France, another fellow countryman of Jared from California. And yeah, felt quite an explosive, heart-opening awakening back in 2012. Maybe that's something I might delve into later, but Corrine, what's going on the Canadian scene?
Well, right now there's a snowstorm, another one. There was one on Friday, and this one is even more stronger. It's stronger. So yeah, I'm Corrine from Montreal. I wasn't there at the previous discussion, and I wanted to make sure to at least make an appearance for this subject because it's a subject really dear and near to my heart. So here I am.
Welcome. And Param?
Can everybody hear me? I'm Param from originally from the Netherlands. I'm born in Amsterdam, but I've been living in France for over 45 years, I think. Anyway, that makes me practically French. And and I've been here before a couple of times, and I'm glad to be back. Have a little discussion with you all. Very pleased to meet the new ones here.
Great. So welcome, everyone. So I guess what I felt was I was just thinking about it during the week, and I just thought, well, this is such a fundamental aspect of life, really, and in a way it's like life itself. It's like life force itself, you know, I think. And it's also like what drives us to do everything that matters in life. Whether it's, you know, making nice food, growing nice food, you know, making things beautiful around us, nurturing each other, caring for each other, laughing, you know, and then of course that's in a way the lower realm, or the more like mundane. I don't want to say mundane because it's a beautiful realm of matter and of just social interaction. You know, it's how we make life wonderful, you know, and then leading on into music and all of the other sort of the arts and everything. But there's also the higher aspect, which is this responsibility we have to truth, and to sort of, for me, it's like this longing that, okay, it's great to make everything comfortable and to make things beautiful and all of that, but that somehow it has to be within a framework or a real profound and shared understanding that you know, that there is a truth. We are in service of truth. We are uplifting truth. We're following truth. And that's really love. The relationship between love and truth is so fundamental, I think. And I think I wanted to sort of dig into that a little bit more. That was kind of what I felt, why I wanted to carry on talking about the subject. And I think it just informs all of us why we kind of care about this work, is because we're so wanting to forge that connection in ourselves between our feeling of love and what is actually true, and then also wanting to sort of inspire that in the world and want people to be like, hold on a minute, there's more than just comfort and nice stuff. There's something way more to life than that, as great as that stuff is, you know. But I think if you get it right, then all of that stuff works in service of truth. So it's a kind of happy, you know, have your cake and eat it kind of scenario, potentially. Okay, so that's my little intro. So yeah, anyone wants to jump in, go for it.
Yeah, I think Neems, you brilliantly. What I love about that little video that you did earlier, that you shared with the group, but that we was about, like, how you just alluded to how you can experience agape through things like gratitude and different moments in life, music, like what you said, so experiencing agape, and then how to share agape with others, how to move from that subjective experience, because I'm the subject, so experiencing it firsthand, and then getting others to understand that agape is an objective thing. It is something that is part of truth. It is part of reality itself. It is part of existence. And so when you align yourself with existence itself, you can experience it through gratitude. You can experience it through music. You can experience it through all these different aspects of life, which we all can identify with and we can share. So I love that, the way that you brought in how to experience agape, not just how do we try to define it, label it, and intellectually describe it or break it down, because we're beings of light, and first and foremost we experience things and then we think about them, right? So we do both, of course. The mind, everything is mind, and so going into that really quickly, is, you know, part of agape is the ability to take consciousness, and then to move consciousness from being unawakened, dead, essentially, through natural law, and then to awaken the consciousness, and from the dead. So, you know, there's the resurrection of humanity. There's the biblical kind, but I like to think of it in more modern day times, that natural law is the resurrection of humanity. It is the awakening of the spirit to that which is, to the objective reality. And so agape is that form of higher conscience, not consciousness, but conscience. So agape is that higher form of conscience. And so let me just really quickly, Mark Paseo, of course, does a great job of defining conscience really quickly. And what I'm looking at on my screen here is conscience comes from the Latin prefix con, together, and then seer, however you say that, but to know or to understand. So conscience is to know together, which the common sense form of to know together, and conscience is to make the free will choice of right action. So true conscience is choosing, knowing first what right action is, and we can't know what right action is until we've understood what wrong action is, essentially. And so that goes into, so agape is the much bigger true conscience of understanding what right action is, and then moving through that with wisdom, and then bringing that to others. But it can be as simple as playing music. It can be as simple as gratitude. So with that, I'll hand it off to anyone who wants to take it from there.
I just wanted to say welcome to Chris. Good to see you. Do you just want to say hello, quick hello to people that don't know you, Chris?
Hello.
Nice. Okay, so whoever wants to carry on, go for it.
Please, I'm going to go last on this roundtable because I was in the last week's. So please, Karine, ladies first, if you will, or Param, Chris, whoever, whatever's clever, y'all. Yeah.
That seems like you're pointing
Yeah.
to nobody in the wrong direction there.
I think, Karine, just go for it if you're ready. I don't know what Param is doing.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, I really like the idea of experiencing, like, first we get to experience it firsthand, and then able to radiate our experience, basically our knowing, and share it with others. And I have to say, yes, definitely, it can be really just experiencing music and just its spreads. That's one of the forms that are the most efficacious, I would say, to transmit. And somehow it makes me think of the quadrivium. I'm pretty sure you guys know about it, maybe all of you, but how it's because with the quadrivium, music is part of the pillars, and so there's this sense of how can I say this? You get to experience the universal music, to really be aware of the universal music, I feel. And then so songs, they are sort of, they are an expression of your own perception, basically, of the cosmic music, of the universal symphony of that we can all perceive somehow. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say about this. Next.
So
Okay, I'll go.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm still not quite getting this interface, so you might get a bit more of me than you'd like. But anyone can jump in.
I'm ready. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? Cool. I was just related. I didn't have anything, special to say. I just wanted to go along with what and expand on what people were saying. But I just what I like your intro very much, Neem, the beauty. So it's difficult to separate beauty from love and truth. But I was just remembering just earlier today, my companion was helping me translate different chapters of natural law, and it's intense. And just the same way Jared didn't want to do it, but you do it anyway. I think this labor of love is very close to. It has to be done. So I think it's love of as close as I feel I could get to. Well, it feels like Agape. Yeah, Jared, I feel the thing. I've been a comedian, and so you overcome stage fright, but doesn't mean you want to be there. Right, and then and what else can I say? Yeah, I made this little drawing. Everybody knows the law of freedom, right? That morality, when it's taken in, leads to more freedom, because you don't need people to remind you the limits, since you have taken them inside of you and understood them to be objective boundaries of morality and transgression. And in the same way, love of truth serves justice. So it's interesting to see how keywords are intertwined in a way, or that upon truth arises justice. And in the same way, in the way that we in court, for instance, we need to know what happened. Tell me the truth, all the truth, and nothing but the truth upon the Bible, blah blah blah. And so it's interesting how on the basis of truth, justice can only arise upon justice. In the same way that only upon objective morality could we experience collective freedom, or in the same way only self-governance or inner monarchy could lead to, in the outer world, collective anarchy. But beauty, again, I really feel that beauty, in any sense of form of art, I'm more sensitive to, or more involved. I'm very sensitive to music, but I'm more creative myself, speaking for myself, more invested into visual arts. And the idea that I can't remember whose quote it is, that beauty will save the world. I'd like to listen to the rest of you now.
Chris, you want to jump in?
Sure. So I don't know if you guys have presented maybe like descriptions or definitions or stuff like that. But I'm gonna do it. All right. Hold on. I'm just gonna share some stuff, and this is from the upcoming Freedom Under Natural Law 4 Inspire Care to Action conference that's happening next Saturday and Sunday. These are a bit of slides from there. Just a little sneak peek for that. So if you want to pop that on the screen, I can go through a bit of it. And I'll just begin before they show up. So we have care, and care is the generative principle. People who know Mark Passio's work calls it the eighth hermetic principle. And it's a creative force, because what you care about is what underlies what you're going to be motivated by in order to do something in the world. So you're going to have actions and behavior based on what you care about in the world. And it's a core of how the human world is created. That's why I have a heart. at the center of the earth here. So what we're going to do can be aligned with right or wrong. And so you got to care about what's right or wrong. And if you don't, well, then you're going to be doing wrong into the world. And that'll lead to creating a heaven or a hell. And if we ignore the evil going on and we don't care enough and we ignore it, then it continues. So care is the generator of the quality of the world. Because if we, depending on what we care about, that's the quality of the world that's going to come into existence based on the quality of our behavior, based on the quality of our care. So as the title of this podcast is, it's about agape. So agape, I associate it with a lighter true care side, as opposed to what's coming next, which is the dark or false care, and the lighter true care that's associated with the sacred feminine, the goddess symbolism. That's why there's the dove here. And so that's a positive care contrasted to a negative care. And we have to, that's where you develop the compassion of your emotional moral compass for other sentient beings suffering. And that, ultimately that leads to not initiating harm and birthing true conscience, to know the objective definitive difference between what is right and what is wrong behavior. And that's living in higher moral living, where you care to seek, accept, use, and teach truth for good. And that gives birth to the sacred masculine child of right action. Because only through the sacred feminine can you get to that sacred masculine. Those are the two pillars, as illustrated in many occult traditions like Freemasonry. We care for moral truth. We climb off that checkerboard floor, again, for symbolism from Freemasonry. That's where you begin a process of initiation. You're walking in the path of good or evil ignorantly. So you get off of that board where you're the squares are black and white. If people are not familiar with the symbolism, the black is evil, the good is the white. So you're walking on those squares. So you're walking in the path of evil, the path of good. You're doing them both ignorantly if you're not choosing to only step onto the white squares. So that's part of that is doing the inner work of facing the shadow to slay the dragons and demons within us for true conscience to be born. And that's what a lot of ancient artwork and mythology is about: slaying the serpent, slaying the dragon. It's about that symbolism of going within and facing that within you and slaying it so that you can be reborn and remade anew. In contrast, we have dark and false care. That's the unholy feminine, the dark goddess, which is symbolized by the owl. That's the predator. And that's the negative care instead of positive care. So instead of developing that compassion, we're burning away that true care, that agape part of our emotional moral compass for the other sentient beings suffering, and fostering and doing harm is what ultimately comes about when we follow this path. And that's lower moral living. You care to seek, use, and invert truth instead of caring to seek, whatever I said before, caring to seek, use, and learn truth in order to bring more good into the world. Well, here you're just inverting truth in order to manipulate. So for you to come out on top. And that gives birth to the predator of immoral action, hence the owl, which is a predatory bird. You're caring for the dominance and control. And that's what a lot of the manipulators, the dark occult, the social engineer, the cult of the dark sun, call them what you will, the powers that should not be, well, they have this mindset because they just want to be predators. They want to manipulate. They want dominance and control over others. They're spreading falsity, inverting truth to get others to live, to get others not to get off the checkerboard floor. They want people to stay on that checkerboard floor of ignorance and follow in the path of allowing evil or doing it themselves as well. Why not develop that dark care? But if, they don't teach that expressly, but it's like an implicit, something that you pick up through being conditioned by the condition of society, which then conditions you into going with that, the status quo, and just doing things as they're already done. And instead of fighting the demons and darkness and shadow within, well, you're hiding in the shadow to birth the demons instead of birthing the sacred masculine true conscience. You're letting your demons out in order to do the evil in the world. And then we come to dead care, which is in between, and that's like no care, or where you say, or it's most represented by the phrases "I don't care." When you tell something to someone, they say, "I don't care." Well, that's apathy, because you just don't care about whatever that subject or that subject matter that's being talked about. Someone just doesn't care. But apathy is also a lack of care to act. So you might care about something, but if you're not using that knowledge in a way that empowers you or can bring empowerment to others, then you're not acting on that knowledge to do anything about it. And either way, things don't change when you don't care enough to change them. When you don't know or care about how the world is and you let the dark carers drive it, right? Those with the owl symbolism, well, they're the ones driving it, then your true care is dead. It's uninitiated. And they drive the evil control system by their manipulations, but everyone who's in apathy, they're the gears, because they just go along with it. They're the gears in that system of control that make it continue to move forward. They're the energy that fuels and sustains it. And the egotism is what holds you back when you're in this mindset of apathy and dead care. And you can resurrect true care to do the great work to end evil. You might know about the true condition of the world, but if you want a moral world, yet you're not activated to create it, then you still have deadened care in you. So even though you can be on the path of true care, you can still have deadened care in you, because you still don't have enough care for truth to get you to that goal of true care of agape, to do something to activate yourself. And that's moral relativism. Moral relativism is present when true conscience, which is birthed through true care, is absent, because you don't have true conscience if you don't have enough true care. And that's because you're still in apathy, or you have outright dark care. And when you're in apathy, well, you're still in moral relativism, because you don't have that true conscience developed and you're not activated. And that brings us to the dead symbolism, where the apathy for truth is symbolic of being dead or asleep, unawakened, uninitiated, unbegun, unconscious, inactive in life. And so you're dead in the coffin or in the tomb, like Jesus. And this is a Freemasonic symbolism with Hiram Abiff, or Hiram Abiff. And so you're dead in the coffin, grave, or tomb, unconscious to moral truth and its importance in life. You're not being consciously aware of the importance of caring for truth and acting in alignment with truth. Not to care about what is happening in the world, nor having the intelligence, courage, or will to change it. And that equates to deadened thoughts, emotions, and actions. And that's why there's the symbolism of 322 in the Skull and Bones of Yale, I think it is. I forget which university, but the 322, that has to do with whether action is activated, the three, but there, is it three? Yeah, 322, and it's March 22nd for the beginning of the season of sacrifice, the occult season of sacrifice. And 322 as a symbolic of, they have their thoughts, so they have the knowledge, but they're not, they don't have the true care, and they don't have the wisdom, the sacred masculine child of wisdom of right action. So that's the symbolism. Mark Passio talks about that more. So apathy for truth creates ignorance, cowardice, and laziness. And apathy kills care, ignorance kills intelligence, cowardice kills courage, laziness kills willpower, leading to an absence of action. That's being inactive and dead, hence the symbolism of the tomb, where you're unconscious and inactive in life, because essentially it's being dead. And then the dark carers are active in creating evil, but you, as part of the quote dead, well, you're not active in trying to stop evil. So the dark carers, they're not dead because they've activated themselves on the dark path, and the true carers are activated on the true path. And then the dead, those who don't care enough to be activated, well, they're just not doing anything to knowingly promote evil or knowingly engage their behaviors to stop evil, but they're unknowingly part of that aspect of perpetuating evil, because, again, as I showed here, that you're part of that system and the fuel and the gears to make it go. So the goal is to resurrect your true care. So again, this is Freemasonic symbolism, the master carpet, and that's the coffin of Hiram Abiff. And here's the checkerboard floor, and we got the two pillars. So that's all stuff we've already talked about. And that's going to the Eye of Providence, the enlightenment, where you can see. And talked about that in the Seed 5 presentation. I went into the Eye of Providence about seeing into the future, and that's what you use the past behaviors to learn what's right and what's wrong, and that's your guide to your future behavior. And so the dead symbolism is used to express unrealized and unactualized potential to care for, seek, embrace, embody, and live aligned to moral truth. That's the way and the path. That's when you refer to Jesus and what Jesus talks about. He talks about how he's the light and he's the way and he's the path, because it's symbolism for the moral way, the moral path. That's what the light is supposed to be, not the dark light, the dark carers, the dark occultists. They use the dark light. That's why the cult of the dark sun. And the true light is the not the dark light. So you live aligned to the moral path as a truer, realer, higher version of yourself, and then you become initiated, awake, aware, and begin to do the work of trying to end evil. So until you get to that level of caring for truth, you still have apathy within you, which still makes you partly, quote, dead. So you got to reach that point of beginning to do the work of trying to end evil. And that's when we're truly resurrected, risen, rebirthed, reborn, and raised from a dead and lower state of consciousness. We rise to a higher, truer, and realer consciousness life and are now alive, born into a new life, as opposed to our former self, which was a lower, unrealer, falser version of ourselves, and that potential that we've now realized. So it's a new life, and we're more alive. And it's like being in a new world. And it's like an afterlife, because your former life, well, you're after that life, and you're in an afterlife, and this where you're in a new life, alive and reborn. And that's given to us by the light and life. Hence, Jesus, the allegory of Jesus. That's the light and life of moral truth in our lives. And so this puts them all together. This is a graphic where apathy, that's the unbegun, the dead, and the uninitiated. And you have the dark cares, where they're creating the hell, and the light true cares, they're creating the heaven, and the apathy people, where they're in the coffin in between the demon, the darkness, and all the evils, and the angelic realm. So the dark cares, the sorcerers, social engineers, Satanists, well, they negate true care. So they're not up here, they're down there, they're in the opposite, which puts them in a lower position than the apathy. So these guys like to call pretty much everyone, the dead, the unbegun, but they're in an even worse position because of, instead of not even having true care, they've chosen the opposite of true care. So they consciously work to build a hell and rule as masters, and they think they're better than the dead or unbegun. The dead have the dead have dead. Yeah, I almost missed the word. I put it in black to show that it was dead there. So the dead have dead true care. So they don't have the true care. It's that potential within them that they can actualize, but it's currently dead, hence in the coffin. So they go along with the dark agenda. And the light carers, call them magicians or wizards, well, they affirm true care, and they work to stop evil, slavery, immorality. So to end the dark reign of evil, more people need to rise from the darkness into the light of moral truth. And here's a different version of the previous graphic. So humanity, well, we need to rise. Rise, humanity, rise. Good and evil is created in the world. The dark carers are progressively shaping the world into their image of ruling a hell, and most people have inactive true care or dead care and go along with their agenda. They build a world that enslaves them and keeps their near infinite potential, which is ultimately, you're going to realize this the symbolism of building a heaven instead of a hell. So that potential within of true care is also the potential to live as a truer, realer, higher version of yourself. And so that near infinite potential is locked in a coffin, and it's dead. So they must rise out of that apathy, that complacency about the current condition of slavery and evil, awaken the sleeper within, that sleeping potential, and join the forces of light to build a moral world through moral education. And that's what the purpose of the great work is. Where'd my button go? Oh, there you go. It's my last slide. There you go. That's why I couldn't go for it. That's it for me.
Yeah, nice, Chris. Thank you. Great stuff. And Drea's been asked in the comments, where are those slides available, or are they brand new? Are they for your?
You're muted, Nemo.
You got to wait
I'm
one more week. Freedom Under Natural Law Conference, 22nd and 23rd of February coming up. That's where you can find that. And also evolveconsciousness.org. Just check out Chris's website. He's already you got like 1,000 fucking slides on that channel already that apply so much to what you mentioned already. And sorry, my voice is kind of hoarse because I've been supercharged to get my presentation for this next funnel, or FUNL is an acronym, FUNL, Freedom Under Natural Law. And Chris and myself are presenting in there, and we had to get our presentations in a couple days ago. I've been cathartic as fuck and supercharged to get this shit on time. I've overcome a lot, but it's all the love of the fucking labor, straight up. And what was Chris saying about? A lot. And we covered a decent amount on a show we did with Chris on Dissolving the Divide, actually. Come on, almost literally 2 years ago, brother. And yeah, it was fucking awesome. Talking about kind of like the true care versus dark care with the Karens, if you will. And Karen is actually a demonic fucking form of consciousness. People need to understand that and understand the programming. Hold on, I'm gonna read this comment. What is Funnel doing as far as outreach goes? Yeah, we're really trying to get the word out to a lot of people. There's folks such as myself that are within the organizer realm and just getting the fucking word out. Yeah, we can. And I suggested in there's a Freedom Under Natural Law Telegram group chat if people want to join that. You know, I suggest like, hey, go into the media section. There's a bunch of flyers and, you know, thumbnails or whatever that people can download themselves, share it on their social medias, hopefully outside of these echo chambers. And also you can print them out and just post them up like old school style, put them on people's doorsteps or mailboxes, whatever. And yeah, that if people are activated and inclined to do so, yeah, that's just kind of like, as we would say in that street lingo, spreading the love or whatever, right? And and that could just be like brotherly love or whatever, but you know, taking it to that higher echelon of the agape, this really needs to be experienced and activated within the individual. And I kind of go over a little bit of this, although I think I mentioned the word agape once in my presentation. But as far as like an activated in awakening, that's really where the fuck it's at, with that heart core intelligence, right? That's why I got the green behind the screen, whatever, because that is, the green is that heart-based frequency, the Anahata chakra, right? That is just gonna, you know, ignites all that shit. The lower chakras, yeah, that's great, but it's got to build up here. It's not the serpentine kundalini bullshit. It's fucking right here. And wouldn't you know, that's like the first organ that grows within the human fetus. So keep those things in mind, and keep in mind that, yeah, love, this type of universal love extends to all aspects of life, including, you know, our animal and plant and mineral friends. And we want to treat those with as much respect as fucking possible, even in this fallen time matrix that we're in. And when I say time matrix, I'm talking about, and people know about the hex around Saturn, right? Saturn representing Chronos and all this stuff, and how, yeah, like, so there's like some of the harmonics and stuff that has been distorted within this whole fucking solar system pretty much since before the time of Atlantis. And you know, that's kind of a quick aside, but so how do we actualize this movement of agape love in expression? Yeah, music is definitely part of that. You know, that sound song frequency that I kind of mentioned in the presentation, of being a proper exemplary role model of being in alignment to these things, right? And it is kind of also moving the formless into form, how we manifest things, you know, like from the subconscious, unconscious to the conscious, you know, make the darkness conscious, right? Within yourself and for others. And that, yeah, Jeffrey Phillips, what's up, man? You talking about shadow work? And yeah, there's a total 100% validity to that. And people need to really go through the ringer and hit that dark night of the soul or catalyst or whatever that's really gonna ignite something within them to light a fire up their fucking ass to get their heads up out of that shit, right? So that they can be more aligned to these things. And as far as speaking from my experience, like there's just a frequency shift, and like my heart was just wide the fuck open to more of the divine things of this reality at a multidimensional level. I'm not gonna get all woo woo, whatever the fuck, because you know, that's not where it ends. There's no arrival point. That's where the fuck it begins, pretty much. Because we still gotta keep building our grammar, be fine tuning our instruments, and we have to understand and deal with the fact that this path work, especially at the level where humanity's at, it requires a fuck ton of care and sacrifice, even, and being comfortable being outside of your comfort zone. Okay, we're in the midst of not just physical warfare but spiritual warfare for fucking eons. So what the fuck are we doing? You know, like, what are you willing to sacrifice to make this shit fucking work and correct all the fucked up shit going on in the world, right? How is your fucking care operated on a daily fucking basis? That's a question people need to be asking themselves. All right. And yeah, just trying to bring that proper inspiration for you know, to have people care about acting positively in this world. I totally messed that up, but that's kind of like the headline of the Freedom Under Natural Law conference next weekend, which is yeah. We didn't emphasize that enough, right? No, just kidding. But last thing, and then I'll pass it off. Param, yeah, appreciate what you said. And yeah, part of my sub title of my presentation is I'm talking about AI, and I'm trying to flip the motherfucking script on this motherfucking whack-ass artificial bullshit. And it's not intelligent. It's intellectual, and it's aggregating all the information and stuff that, you know, humans have already created. Wow, like, so fucking impressive. You know, fuck out of here with their bullshit AI generated stuff. But at the same time, like, I don't care if people, content creators, are using that. You know, like Chris, I think you had some slides, other people have, and whatever. Like, but folks on the great work level are not, you know, having their whole videos and content be completely fucking AI generated. That's lazy motherfucking bullshit. And y'all need to stop that motherfucking fraudulent fuckery. All right. With that said, yeah, I'm supercharged with this shit. I'm fucking so pissed off how fucking fucked up shit is in this realm. And it's driven by so much fucking love and care. All right. Because I do have a lot of love for beauty. And this AI bullshit isn't fucking up to snuff at all. Fuck that shit. All right. So, yeah, going back to what Param said in the little group chat, I appreciate that. Because I do talk about being an activated individual, an authentic individual in the face of this artificial fuckery, right? When the love of truth is more important to you than what people think of you, then you're on the right path, type of thing. And that's part of it. Because, you know, we have to hold the truth above, unfortunately, like anything fucking else, right? So we do not have to be so taking things so fucking personal, because like the truth is objective. Just align to that and leave the rest behind. Like, big fucking deal. You know, get your ego bullshit the fuck over it. You know, like, do the fucking work. There's so many layers and you know, peels of the onion that we got to go through on an individual fucking level, right? So keep that in mind. Keep that compassion in your heart for our brothers and sisters that aren't fucking nearly on the fucking level, right? How else are we going to reach these people? You know, like, tell me, let's bring some solutions to the table. Cause, you know, sometimes, like, I don't have all the answers myself either. Right. So no one really does. No one knows every fucking thing and all this stuff. freedomundernaturalllaw.com. Like, we say words in videos. People can just listen to a word and like duck go it. I wouldn't say Google, you know, because that's kind of frugal, but you know, like, yeah, keywords, like activate your attention span and things and act upon them with consciousness. And I'm not trying to like downplay people. Andrea, I'm kind of responding to you. Sorry if that sounds harsh, but yeah, like freedomundernaturalllaw.com. Check it out, please. And yeah, like evolveconsciousness.org. Yeah, Chris has got the goods on that too. Anyway, sorry. Nemo, back to you, brother.
Well, can I be heard is the question. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, buddy.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Right. So I'll just pick up on a couple of things. So many people have spoken so much stuff. I just wanted to sort of touch in back on some points. So it's stretching back a ways, but like, I think this thing about music is amazing. You know, I mean, as I've always played music, and it's, you know, when you're in this sort of this kind of intellectual conception of love in the, you know, it connects with you in different ways. Like you can understand it in a logical way, and then there's these kind of mysteries. That's why I was talking about at the beginning, talking about beauty. And there's a great John Lamb Lash quote, which is, "Beauty is the ultimate weapon." And I loved that when I heard that. I just thought, oh wow, that's like changing the script, you know. Really love that. And because for me, like, music is this thing, when you, after a while, if you play music, if you're playing an instrument, like you start to, or I started to kind of philosophize about it and be like, what's actually happening? What's this about? And it's such a funny question to ask people, like, what is music? You know, what even is it? It's such a, you know, it's just pure Agape. I think it's like how we communicate through vibration. You know, and there's why the rules of music are what they are, and why it's all such a crazy mystery, and yet it so works, and everyone feels it. You know, and so there's something in the heart of like these things which are kind of drift off out of the intellectual and into like the ether and into the unknowable. And that's really, without that, you know, then you can't really feel love, you know, this universal love. I think you need to like take moments or not take moments, but embody moments of connection with people, that kind of thing, you know, like you get a compliment, like really receive it, you know, you sit down to eat, really like be with the gift of the gratitude of what you're eating, you know, these simple things, you know, you see the sun, you know, this kind of attitude of gratitude, you know, is obviously a really cheesy thing to say, but this all kind of helps feed the battery of the energy to actually drive you. You know, it's like it's like I'm fighting to protect what's behind me, not because I hate what's in front of me. You know, that's such a great sort of way of conceiving like the battle that we're in. You know, it's like it's about what we love. That's why we're fighting. You know, it's not driven by hate. And yeah, there's a few bits there. I can pass it on. I don't know if we got the Telegram thing up in the chat, but I'm sure it will appear somewhere. But yeah, you can always just look at the.
Am I doing the duck thing
internet.
the right way?
Sorry?
Am I doing the duck thing the right way?
Yes, you're doing the duck thing
this
the right
way?
way. Yeah, no. Okay, Jared, do you want to come in and do a duck thing?
Quiet. Hey, Chris, so awesome to I'm a big fan. You've taught me a lot, so I just want to express my gratitude to you for boy, I'm into morality, like almost 6.5 hours in, and I've learned so much. And it's so funny because I didn't know you were coming on today, and the notes that I have written down, you just you just grand slammed it out of the ballpark. I mean, oh my gosh, I can't wait to check it out at FUNL, your presentation, because thank you so much for giving all of us here a preview of your, just brilliant work. And so that was really cool to see that. But you hit on so many points that I've worked in the media industry for that's been my whole life. I've been a professional camera operator, and I've done editing and a bunch of other stuff too. And I've worked with directly, the dark occult that are, when you're in the media industry, they don't hide it. They have tattoos of Baphomet and whatever else, and they openly, amongst them, talk about it in those terms of how they talk about it. And so I just want to touch on what you were talking about, the dead. And I've heard in the truth community, people who just don't quite understand, and that there's an agenda, like even popular comedians who will make fun of woke culture, realize what they're doing. That is part of the dark agenda, because to be awake means to be spiritually awake, to be undead, right? So this is part of that dark media agenda, to confuse the truth community, to infuse the truth community with confusion about what woke means. No, woke is not about transgender. Woke is not about, the leftist or the rightist or the blah, blah, whatever. Woke has been forever a metaphor for spiritual and consciousness awakening. So when other people in the truth community start making fun of woke culture, realize what give them the knowledge that woke, we're talking about awakening of the spirit, lighting of the light, the ignition of light within the soul. So that I've dealt with in the media industry with people who like to confuse things and use truth to, well, like what you said in one of your in one of your new slides, just contorting, misusing the truth to control people and to dominate people and to confuse what objective reality is. Because one of the things, so that was one of those things that I wanted to touch on with Agape and true conscience, is applying the difference between right and wrong. Knowing the difference between right and wrong is common sense in practice. Then exercise of conscience is knowing that objective difference between right and wrong, and then applying that into your life. And so when we were talking about Valentine's Day earlier on the last show a little bit, and people get caught up in what things, and Christmas and whatever else, whatever cultural label, Christmas, Valentine's, whatever it is, and they get wrapped up into where the origin may have started. And let's just be clear here. I don't care if Valentine's Day or Christmas was started by some dark occultist, because the practice of true conscience is actually doing what you intend to do. So there's a difference between a word and its etymological origin and its definition. Because when we're using words to create communication and clarity in communication. But when we're talking about a cultural cult, right, whatever, societal practice like Valentine's Day, what gives it meaning is what people do with it. Just the same way as behavior is objective reality, like Chris pointed out in his morality. Please check it out, part 4. Chris is like, well, what is objective about reality? Well, behavior is objective. It was done, whatever it was. I waved my hand, it was done. Now, subjective about that behavior is like voting, right? That was done. Objectively, it's evil to vote because what it supports, it's evil supporting evil. That means you're participating in evil. Plain and simple, that's objective. So subjective is, well, I voted for the lesser of the two evils. Well, so what? You're still participating in evil. So subjectively, if you think Trump or whoever else is the lesser of two evils, you're still participating in evil, and you're still evil for participating in evil, for goodness sakes. But true care is not creating an enemy out of the people that we love. So my friend who is a big Trump supporter, I'm not going to tell him that he's evil, and I'm not going to tell him, whatever. I'm going to try to create common ground. Like in Valentine's Day, we want to create common ground with people because we, which you guys have done. Agape is an opportunity to learn about what Valentine's Day can be a part of. Not just the romantic kind of love, because let's face it, lots of people on Valentine's Day don't have that. Okay? So agape is so much bigger than just that romantic love. So you guys have been performing the great work by talking about Valentine's Day in perspective of agape, of love in action. So back to the misuse of my friend. So creating common ground and talking to people about what a false claim of ownership is, and that government is slavery because it's a false claim of ownership, and what that actually means, and then defining that for him. I got him on my side, right? Because he cannot disagree with the fact that stealing your money, your income, is a false claim of ownership over you, and so forth. So we want to, in this truth community, natural law community, because truth is objective, natural law is objective. And so we want to, let's always work our way towards what is common ground and meeting people where they're at, because humanity is not evolved yet. Chris is helping with his evolved consciousness, work that he's been putting out. He's helping to evolve people's consciousness. But that's a step-by-step thing, and we need to meet people where they're at, and we can't beat them over the head, because we're not going to make any friends, and our message isn't going to reach very many people by beating people over the head. So so practice makes meaning when we're talking about cultural things like Valentine's Day. Practice, not how it was started. I don't care if Valentine's Day was started in some dark way. Practice and what we do with it in behavior, that's objective. Behavior is objective, what we're doing. How that affects me is subjective. How that affects you is subjective, because you're the subject. So what we do with our cultural holidays and our behavior creates meaning, not how it was started. So let's not confuse that, okay? There, I'm done.
Hey, thank you, Jared. And I wanted to come on talk a bit about what Nemo was saying, because I was reacting to it when he was talking very emphatically. And it's because what he brought on is, it involves the body a lot. Even gratitude. You sort of experience something that makes you feel good, satisfaction, contentment, joy, and then you exude that. And I wanted to say too, because Jeffrey Phillips in the YouTube comments, he was saying that music also has been used to rot people's brains. And totally, we've seen that a lot, especially in the few decades now. But then what it makes me think is that true music it's first and foremost your own experience. It's an expression of gratitude, I find, because you perceive that the universe is love, is based on love. You basically perceive the truth of the universe, and you express that back in as an expression of gratitude, in honor of the creator, of source. That's at least how I feel it, how it's really like it involves really your own physical experience. Well, not just physical, your whole being. Like it touches your soul, it touches your physical body, you feel a sense there, your astral body, your whole being is involved in it. And what I find is that for people who are engaged in rotting people's brain using music, it's as if they are shut off from that truth. They purposefully cut themselves, they disconnect themselves from, truly experiencing reality, the reality of the universe. Last thing that I want us to say, I really appreciated what you said, Jared, about, coming up, one side of how, dead, like one side of the dead can be expressed. And I just want to say too that what is these days, we see a lot of movies and TV shows about zombies, and how it really, it sort of habituates the people and entertains them with this notion of being dead without really understanding it. And it just makes it into an entertainment, and it also deadens basically the conscience of the people as well, because you don't really take it seriously. You don't, it's that awareness, that courage gives so much aliveness to your being. You feel suddenly that you have the courage, you have the motivation to stand up for yourself, for your children, for your children's children, and you have the courage to speak up. Whereas when you are entertained and allow yourself to be lullabied by whatever they put up about zombies, about vampires too, stuff like that, you basically are, you just, there's really a sense of being in a trance. Basically, you allow yourself to really be taken over by this trance, and it's just, it's a form of apathy, definitely. So thank you very much, Chris, for those slides, by the way. There's a lot that it brought on. So yeah, that's it for me for now.
I'll just say we've just passed an hour, so yeah, sort of closing thoughts. Here, everyone's come in. Param, we haven't heard from you for a bit.
Sound check. All good? More solution-oriented, to touch upon, well, whoever did. I noticed, or I haven't really experienced it yet. I read it about it in books, but I'll try to remind myself to instead of confronting people and telling them in their face that yeah, you are wrong, you're bad, you're immoral, you're careless, apathic. Again, I haven't tried it, but to come up with like something like, oh, this is ugly, like the opposite of beautiful. This doesn't look like you. Is this your best shot at arriving to the better version of yourself? Well, that's a little long, but you see what I'm getting at? It's like because when somebody hears you're bad, immoral, they shut off immediately, or I'm not even sure that morality, or even in a post truth world, how effective is it? But to sell, maybe this is more like how you would relate to a child almost, but we're probably dealing with well, with adults with a child's mentation. Oh, this is ugly, man. This is ugly. Yeah, this. I mean, aren't you sensitive to beauty? This is not you. Anyway, it's just a thought out there. Oh, one last one. You know, the last time you mentioned 3 different types of probably there are more types of love, huh? Eros, Philos, and Agape. I was trying to define the difference, and then Chris expands on true care. This is probably a very pertinent equation to what Agape is. And I was just thinking about Eros. Yeah, this is eventually what we share within a couple, huh? Or probably a man and a woman. We could be kind of more progressive about it, but I'll keep it there. And 2 of them, maybe more. Again, could be somewhat progressive. But anyway, it's very intimate. The Eros. Then the Philos. I think some of you mentioned like more like brotherly love, sisterly love. Well, related to human beings, I would say, Philos. But then what's still missing is it's all the rest, like the whole other creatures of creation and the universe itself and us. And it's interesting how the Agape love is like the link between the infinitely wide and the infinitely small, in a way. I think it's a very interesting, because Eros and Philos are kind of the smaller circles. But interestingly, just the idea that Agape is like the joining point between you and the rest of the universe, and it's the love of the universe reflects also the love you have for that inner spark of the infinite within you. I'm done. Thanks.
I think that's such a great point that I'd certainly missed so far in this discussion, trying to drag myself in. Yeah, that's brilliant. Because I don't know if there is in these Greek, ancient Greek concepts, I don't know if there is self-love. I think it may well be, as you say, that it's included as part of Agape, which of course makes complete sense. It's like, how can one love everything without loving yourself? It's like, yeah, obviously. That's great. And I've just kind of got round to this, but Lynn in the Telegram group posted some really great questions, which I'll just throw out there for now. So one is, to what level of security and comfort do we fast on our own oxygen before helping out another? Is Agape always available? Is there such thing as Agape bypassing? Yeah, I'll just leave it at those for now. But yeah, there's just a few little questions that I thought were interesting. So thanks, Lynn. And I'll just plug the Telegram channel. The link's in the description. You can join. There's always discussion there about all these subjects that we talk about. So yeah, who wants to jump in?
Jared, go for it.
Yeah, I've got a really good segue for your next week's discussion So I don't know, I can save that for the end or just kind of segue into it now, but whenever you want. I guess now. Where does meaning come from, right? So where does meaning come from? And when we're talking about Valentine's Day, we're talking about a cultural tradition that is born from behavior and then meaning derived from that behavior. When we're talking about language and agape, we're talking about where does meaning come from? And that starts with the etymological derivate origin, if you will, of the actual word. So, and then meaning can be further derived from parse and syntaxing when you're talking about language. But if you're just talking about the word itself, the one singular word, then we need to understand what that word came from, the etymological origins. And so within the, and so I want to just highlight the difference between the origin of a holiday, Christmas, being maybe dark, but the actual practice of Christmas and people bringing that into their heart and actually practicing, getting together with people, having food with people, sharing good times with people, not just the commercial side of it. The same for Valentine's Day. Origin matters not. It matters how our behavior, when we're talking about practice and bringing it into the plane of effects, it's about practice and what we do with our behavior. I don't care what the origin is when it comes to that. When it comes to language, it matters what the origin is because we're talking about meaning and we're talking about we want to be on the same page, like agape means to you what it means to me so that we can have meaning because it's objective. And then it has subjective value also because I can experience gratitude differently than you experience gratitude because we're both different and we see subjective things because we're the subject. So I can experience gratitude for my coffee this morning. You experience gratitude for your tea, whatever. So in that realm of where is meaning derived from when we have anarchy and archons, and so that I think leads into our discussion coming up whenever that happens to be, and the confusion culturally about what anarchy is versus the true meaning, because it's a word and we want to be on the same page, so we need to all be on the same page etymologically so we don't have confusion about our words that we're using. All right, that's all I got.
Yeah, Nemo, can you run back some of those questions from they were reading a second ago, please? I had something hot on my mind. I wanted to answer that. You got
Sorry,
those?
what?
So, thank you.
Anything in particular? There was a few that came along.
The last two.
Last two questions. I'm not seeing direct questions.
Okay, I thought it was in the Telegram chat or something you were looking at. I got to close my program, so I got like really minimal internet. But regardless, in conclusion, I guess because time and all that stuff. Kareen, you mentioned zombies, yeah. With the One Great Work Warriors, we did a really great chat about that, and just there's all types of television programming. Pick your fucking flavor, right? Oh, sorry, I cussed. Like big fucking deal. The F word is just think of it as an exclamation point. Like wow. All right. But as far as television programming and music as well, it's just you got your police, a bunch of television series. It's a lot more prevalent in America. I know you got hospital healthcare programming. You have way too many zombie movies and series out there, and like along the line of like per year, what's the what's the quota with horror movies and rom-coms, romantic comedies, and just like superhero action flicks and whatever the hell and all this stuff, like what's up with the programming and why are people so programmed into or conditioned into, you know, staring into the abyss of this programming stuff, you know, right? And like kind of reenacting this zombie-like behavior, watching zombies, it's so ironic, right? Yeah, I know. And yeah, it's kind of apathetic and kind of pathetic, but it's not anti-Semitic. But anyway. And where's the beauty in that, right? Humans will become living zombies when the food supply is cut off. Yeah. Or even before, depending on the types of needlecraft they might be crafting in future times, whatever they're trying to infuse the populace with mainstream lamestream food and pharmakia fuckery, you know. Pharmakia, look that up. Interesting occult etymology behind that. So in the midst of all this crap and negative stuff and dark agendas, how are we activating that true care to counteract that and just be opposed to it, non-complicit, non-participants, and, you know, the whole nine of that, you know? Yeah. Take those into deep consideration, contemplation, and meditation. And do not find inspiration from all types of beauty, whether it be from nature. What's up, Oscar? I'll hit you up in a second, man. You're late again. What happened, brother? I know you're busy, but everyone's got their schedules and whatever. It's all good. Going back to beauty. I love this. And I love the fact of being in Europe and looking at and living within the beautiful monuments in just the old architecture, whether it be Victorian, pre or post, and all that stuff. It just seems like, you know, those builders at that time and the architects and all that, they were inspired by a lot of beauty, right? And a lot of that beauty comes from that feminine essence. And like the men were upholding that feminine essence with a lot of respects. And where are we at right now? No, it's all about the money. We got to cut corners. We just got to make these bland buildings because it's cost effective. And modernism or whatever the hell, like, it's really whack to me. And it doesn't portray much love to the craft of, you know, masonry. Nothing Masonic, Freemasonry, whatever you know, like, people got their heads up their ass if they think, you know, Freemasonry is all dark, negative, whatever the fuck. Ah, damn, we lost Chris. I should have let him go on, but he's got kids and all that stuff, and he's, you know, operating off that proper care for that, so it's all good. So operating from that care and love for beauty and truth and what's right and all these things. Let me rephrase that, because yeah, like going back to the music and how things are, like, music is great and all these things, and like art, all these sciences of life, right? They've all been kind of inverted to certain degrees. We have to flip the script on that and reclaim these things, you know? So that's kind of what I'm going to end it on that. And yeah, it does take a shizer load of... Oh, really? Thanks, Jeffrey. It takes a shizer load of alchemy, you know, burning away all the falsities and falsehoods and the facades, the masks of all this crap. You know what I mean? All right, let's get Oscar on there. You know, like, Jeffrey can't wait. So yeah, just kidding. I'm not patronizing anyone, but yeah. But last thing, real quick, because Chris Nelson mentioned a really great thing in regards to the programmed phrase, and it's like a parasitic thing that people have running in their minds, like, oh, well, I don't care about this, or da 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 da. Are you sure? Is that the best wording for these things? Would it be better to say, you know, oh, I don't really like that or something like that. My grandmother told me like, oh, like if you're at the dinner table and you say you don't like that, it's better to say, oh, I don't care for that. And I was like, why? Kind of stuff, you know, like not to get into semantics, but you know, like just going to the etymology of the word care, and it's the generative principle, right? So operating from that heart-based intelligence, that's from the heart is where it starts, right? So yeah, Oscar, I'm gonna let you start now. So yeah, I'm muting my mic. Please send it to him. Nemo, I'm done. And thank you so much, everyone, for showing up. All the listeners out there.
Hey, am I coming through? Can I get yeah, yeah. All right. Yeah, I just don't really have a perspective to share in regards to the topic. I just thought it's cool that you did a round two on Agape, and yeah, actually, I wanted also maybe to invite people for the Thursday video call that we do sometimes. At the we've just begun. It's becoming. I hope it's becoming a tradition. We've only done it a couple times, 4 times or so. It's Thursday evenings, Central European time, around 7. And yeah, it's an open invitation to anyone who wants to join.
Yeah, more casual, informal, if you will, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, people can bring up any topic. That doesn't mean that there isn't gonna be there isn't gonna be some, like, people bring up flat Earth or something. It might be it might be challenged whether or not that's actually true or not. But yeah. In regards to the topic of Agape, there was one thing which is maybe a bit like a random thing to share, but I think it's a funny thing, which is that Rome, the city Rome, the way it would be spelled was Roma, so Roma, and Roma, if you spell that backwards, you get amor, and amor is love. So I thought that's kind of fun that Rome invert, like, it's you, like, I mean, this, it's not saying it's a meaningful connection. I just think it's a funny connection that it's the inversion of love, and that's not to say that there's like, oh my god, you know, it's insane, mind-blowing, but I just thought that's kind of funny, Rome having connections, you know, with the church and so. And yeah, that what you just brought up there shortly was just a graphic to invite people to the Thursday video call. And yeah, I didn't really have, as you can hear, like the big insights here in regards to Agape. I like what I heard Jared say earlier about having a shared understanding of definitions of the meanings of words. I thought that's something that I strive for as well, and also maybe it's good that I don't say too much, because I don't know how qualified I am really to speak about what Agape is. But yeah, thanks everyone for sharing your perspectives and letting me come on to just share my funny little word association thing with
Cool.
Roma.
Cool. Right. Has anyone else got any closing thoughts?
Yes.
I think it looks like we've lost Chris. So yeah. So Paran,
Yeah.
Kareem, maybe? Yeah.
Yes, I have some closing thoughts. It's on the thoughts, solution-oriented thoughts, basically. Because I was listening to Param and he made me think of that quite a bit. So I would say one of maybe the simplest solution-based actions. So, simplest solution, I would say, an application of care would be presence, to simply be present. because that, especially in today's world, it is a challenge to be present. So you can be present with your pain. Let's say you're watching TV and you see an ad for charity, and right there you see kids suffering. They talk about kids suffering in some country, or it can be even the country where you're living in. And I know that it can be challenging, actually, because you're sitting there watching TV, and you might lean into feeling impotent, into feeling that I don't care because I don't feel that I have the power to change that situation. But you can be present with whatever you're feeling. It can be sadness, it can be anger, rage, especially when we see the wildfires, for example, how many wildfires we're getting, and natural disasters these days. You can be present with what you're feeling, and that can launch you into actually receive more energy, and that can transform into ideas, into insights, into see what you can you share with someone else, and see what two people, you and someone else, can come up as an idea to see how you can change. So I wanted to share that, especially because it's more than just a word and a mystical idea. It has a really concrete reality. There's a really concrete reality to it.
Yeah, I wanted to say something about dichotomy, and about this question about music, and how, just to take it as an example, same with food. Like, food can be medicine, food can be poison. So I'll try and get myself on the screen if I can do that. Oh no, that's Pam. Where am I? There. Sorry. Here we go, I think. Oh, come on. Right, yes, sorry about that. Yes, so it's the dichotomy thing. This kind of false idea, like, oh, but hold on, music, we it's hard for us to get our heads around the fact that, like, sound, music, playing with sound, playing with frequencies, within that spectrum, can be evil and can be good, and can be both, can be a mixture of both even, like, let's say, it's very delicate, this thing of, like, for example, like tuning, just the very fact of tuning, we're all so incredibly tuned without realizing it, just from listening to music. We can, if someone's singing out of tune, we'll be like, oh, it like hurts, but then if another person sings like just that little bit out of tune, and then they slide into the note, you're like, oh yeah, you feel it. So they're using that little bit of the darkness to kind of bring in the light. So it's quite a subtle dance, I think, and it's rather than something being negative and positive in it. Obviously, because everyone loves music, there's no doubt, that there's a lot of, I mean, what nightclubs are now is pretty, it's not, it's not great. I don't know. I don't find it very positive generally, that experience. I find that it's very loud, it's very repetitive, it's extremely repetitive, and and dark, and people go out there like, let's go to the club, and you're like, why are you here? This is not fun, this is not uplifting. It's not doing with music what we all know can be done with music. It's something else, and there's some other purpose for being there. And really, it tends to be hedonism and whatever, and not really focusing on uplifting and on anything uplifting. Anyway, that's a bit of a sort of tangent, but it was just this thing about, you know, same with like food can be medicine, it can be poison, all of these things, all of these expressions of beauty, they have another side. Everything can be warped and twisted. And there's a kind of balance, you know, because sometimes you need a little bit of salt to bring out the sweet or whatever it is, you know. Yeah, so that was my last little thought. Did anyone else have any very closing thoughts? Because we've gone on, I think this is actually the longest show so far. Anyone want to jump in?
Yeah, just want to say I'm looking forward to the Freedom Under Natural Law conference coming up this weekend. Hope everyone finds the time to, if not this weekend, at least check out some of the presentations. I know I'm definitely looking forward.
Oscar, your mic's really gone kind of weird. So
okay.
I'll just. Oh, now I can hear you fine.
Okay.
Who knew?
Yeah, I
do it again.
I just wanted the Freedom Under Natural Law conference coming up this weekend, and if people don't get the chance to tune in while it's streamed live, it's really possible to watch the replays afterwards. And yeah, looking forward to the next roundtable discussion as well. This is going to also happen next weekend. But yeah, that was it. Just a reminder of the Freedom Under Natural Law.
Okay, you're still fading in and out, but I sort of got the gist.
Yeah.
But great. I'm trying to whiz through these last comments to get them up. There's loads that came up while I was talking, so I don't know. Anyway, so they're fine. So shall I close it there? Any last thoughts? Anyone? Last moment, last option.
Agape mother lovers.
Agape, yes, indeed. Right. Okay, so I think that's it. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and promote the next week before it comes up. You comes up on your thing, and you go, oh, I know someone else is going to watch this, and I believe we're going to move on to anarchism next week. Which I'm always not sure personally about the ism. I think, do we really need the ism? I think we just need to be anarchs, people without rulers. That's what I reckon. But we can talk about that next week. Unless things change radically, I haven't got the thumbnail together to plug it, but I will do that. Also, obviously, next weekend is FUNL, Freedom Under Natural Law Conference. Please do look that up. The link will be in the description. And thanks everyone for a great show. Thanks for all the comments. I haven't got time to put them all up right now before finishing the show, so I hope I didn't miss anything too insightful and wonderful. But thank you all for being here, and let me just go back to, there you go. Thanks everyone. Cheers, and let's see you next week on Europa Natural Law. Remember to mute yourself right now if you would. Cheers everyone. Oh.